Ladies and gentlemen, for season 7 of India Web Fest, can I request all of you to give a big round of applause and a big shout out, please? Thank you. Title partner, Havas Play, powered by Workmates, Planetcast, Applause Entertainment, in association with OTTplay, Shemaroo, TVF, News9Live.com, partners, Kaans, White Apple, Shortfundly, Radio City, Celebistaan, Think Events, and of course, an initiative. So ladies and gentlemen, I'll request all of you to clap loudly once again for IWMBuzz, please, for having grown leaps and bounds the way it has. So ladies and gentlemen, the session is going to be moderated on stage by Rohan Crasto, founder, Red Fox Media Corp. A big round of applause for Mr. Rohan, please, as he joins us over here. I'll be welcoming all of them over here. It's an honor and privilege to welcome over here, ladies and gentlemen, Rabindra Narayan, MD and President PTC Network. Always happy to see you, sir. Thank you. Nishit, Varshneya, Head of International Business and India Digital Syndication, Shemaroo Entertainment Limited. Zafar, Sawant, Chief Product Officer, OTTplay. Can we have a big round of applause for Zafar ji as well, please? To now welcome on stage Mr. Venugopal, Iyengar, COO, Digital Planetcast. Rohan, Chincholi, Chief Digital Officer, Havas Media India. Big round of applause for Rohan ji, please. And I would now like to call upon stage Kaveri Das, Business Head, Z5 Hindi.
So, very nice to have this nice, bright morning, which is wet. And we need something exciting here. We are starting with something which is uniquely done for the first time. And we have great panel to talk about. But before that, let me start with a small story. The story goes, I was flying from Toronto to Munich. And I was in a flight. I was going by Lufthansa. And apparently, while the flight took off, there was one young Korean couple who had their iPads, and they were happily watching Squid Game. Apparently, I said, okay, I don't need to watch Squid Game. I'll watch Three Idiots. So I opened my iPad, and I was watching Three Idiots. And after a little while, the guy next to me, the Korean, started looking at my TV, and he saw the initial look of Three Idiots about the ragging scene where he gets an electric shock. So while I was laughing, he was also laughing. So I looked at him and he said, hey, are you watching what I'm watching? He said, yeah, this looks very interesting. What are you watching? I said, this is an Indian movie called Three Idiots, and I'm watching it for the next, maybe the 30th time, because I love this movie. So then I asked him, what are you watching? I knew it was Squid Game. He said, Squid Game. So I asked, do you watch Korean content? He asked me. I said, yes, I watch a lot of Korean content. I watch Squid Game, I've watched movies, which like Parasite, Old Boy, and many other movies. So I asked him, what Indian movies or Indian shows have you watched? He started thinking, both couples started thinking, and they started saying that we just watched Slumdog Millionaire, and we don't have any idea about any other Indian movies. So this got me thinking that while I was watching Three Idiots, this guy was looking at my show, and at my watch, I can tell you. Why is Indian stories, Indian movies not traveled to far countries like Korea? So somewhere down the line, this questioned me while I wanted to start this panel today. Why is the Indian content not traveling the way it needs to travel? The question to the panel is, to all of you, is that are we making stories only for the Indian audiences, or are we making stories meant for a bit of the expats which are all around the world, or are we just doing content for the sake of making a content for the Indian audience? Why is it not traveling? I'll leave it to any one of you to start off so that we pull this into a great, nice conversation here. So anybody can start.
I'll give you a perspective to it. As Indians, for centuries, we've been afraid to dare to dream. That's why we keep creating things and keep it to ourselves. We never opened up that we have things which can win applause across the globe. Slowly but steadily, it has started now. And technology has been a great enabler. And now with the advent of AI coming in, the mode of delivery, the kind of creations you can do, the kind of languages you can dub, the kind of opportunities that get created now are vast. Also, as an industry, we've been bound by traditions. यही light लगेगा, this kind of camera will work, these kind of actors will work, this kind of item number is needed, this kind of thing. So we work on formulas, patterns and traditions. We don't like to break it. Every movie has to have 6 songs. But slowly did you notice that now movies don't have songs? There's a narrative happening like a global movie. Of course, there is a credit score or ends credit where the songs are there. But the reliance on the song-based, item-based, formula-based, storylines, actor-based plot lines is now slowly going away. OTT has done a great part in this, but slowly mindset is changing. The new generation which is coming is exposed to global techniques, global audiences. They go take part in festivals there, they're staying there. So the mindset is changing. Now the stage is becoming global, and in times to come you'll see a lot of Indian content will feature globally. Not just a odd Alia Bhatt or a Priyanka Chopra or a Anil Kapoor featuring in a movie. Movies will be made by Indians for a global audience. That's what I think.
Nishit, what do you have to say? Do you agree with sir?
I agree, but I will add a slightly different perspective. You see, at Shemaroo, we have a very rich catalog, okay? And by the strength of our Bollywood catalog, our movies were traveling on its own, largely in geographies where the cultural resonance was there, right? Music was a big call out, right? And what has changed while technology has enabled, right? When we we are, I think, the only one who's trying to build an audience for Indian content for the non-diaspora. I think we focus on non-theatrical platform-led licensing and syndication of Indian content. And the first change that we brought about was not refer to Indian content as Bollywood. Okay, in every conversation it was Bollywood, but we changed, no, it's Indian, because India is now producing content which is at par. And what has changed is, for example, a couple of years back, we were now also, and we were in talks with certain production houses from Thailand and from Indonesia, from Philippines. Those studios used to give us references of shows that they are creating, which is not even meant for the indigenous population. Okay, the shows were targeted at Western geographies, and the way they narrated it clearly said that we are targeting those high ARPU developed economies. So that consciousness started right from the people who were writing the show. And essentially that is what has happened in Korean and Turkish content, and we see how they market it. Now in India, the first change that was brought about is with this entire resurgence of South cinema, right? And the writers then had the ambition that, okay, we are narrating a story, while it is very rooted in some very hyper locality concept or folklore, but the narration is pan-India, right? Okay. And now slowly there's a rising ambition of making it global, right? And hence, we always feel, as you know, when we select our content and to be represented in Europe or LATAM, we always feel, we look for whether there is an realism, emotional realism in the story. And the narrative, the story narrative is absolutely deliberate. Because then we talk about it as world cinema when we talk to platforms. We don't say, sometimes we don't even present it as Indian content because we are doing so much of cross representation. We present it as world cinema, and I think that is what was missing. I mean, we go and talk about our content, that it is made and delivered and the story is very universal, while we have picked it from a certain locality, but it has universal appeal. So I think that consciousness is rising, and that is becoming stronger day by day, and technology is enabling that. Technology is a great enabler, but that intent has sort of got ignited, right? I believe that is the big change that we are seeing now.
Okay.
Right.
So Kaveri, what I hear from these two gentlemen is, sir is saying this is, we had a formula-based content, now we are deformalizing it. What we hear from Nishit is that content is just not meant for Indians and expats. We are also looking at non-Indians. But content has got one universal story. That universal story is basically traveling across, and it's the same universal story told by the Koreans, Turkish, Japanese, etc. What is your take? How is Z5 looking at? What do you guys have delved into? Because you guys are spread across more than 190, 200 countries, if my number is right or wrong. What have you learned from it? Does the Indian story travel or it gets stuck in India itself?
Actually, I think 5 years back something happened which changed the way the entire media and entertainment industry actually operate. That's COVID, right? COVID happened and the M&E industry exploded because people wanted more of entertainment. They were indoors and they wanted to experiment, learn about new genres, content from different countries. At Z5, in the last 2 years, we have seen a phenomenal shift towards people lapping up Indian content. And when I say Indian content, like Nishit rightly said, content that is rooted. So let me give you an example. When I say rooted content, I think it's a word being used very loosely. But when imagine I'm telling the story of a couple in Delhi. If that same story can be replicated from, in a household in Bangalore or a household in Mumbai, that's not rooted. If a story is based on a family in Ghaziabad, it has to be true to the T, which means the lanes of Ghaziabad, the houses of Ghaziabad, the food they eat, what they wear. When we bring such rooted stories, that's when the stories travel. Because there, the Indian diaspora is, see, they are there, they've been settled for many years. So they are looking for that nostalgia element which connects them back to their roots. So have we seen? Yes, we have seen about 35 to 50% increase in viewership in content which is truly rooted. And not, so what travels actually are stories. Stories of the heartland, stories that are made for Indians who are settled abroad, stories that bring them back to their roots. So those kind of stories truly excel over there. I've already, like RRR, for example, is a classic one, right? I mean, look what it did to the, it went, it, I think, broke all records, not just in India, but also globally. Similarly, stories which celebrate heroes, like one content we are extremely proud of course, it's a post-theatrical, it's called Sam Bahadur. It celebrates Sam Manekshaw. So those kind of stories, which either celebrate you as an Indian, or it connects you back to roots, definitely travel. And numbers are there to kind of substantiate that.
Great. So stories travel, Venu, as they say. But what does data say, what technology says? Is it and sacred truth, are we all looking at on a very micro lens, or is algorithms dictating the story? I said my algorithm says that these kind of audiences watch my story, please follow these 1 to 5 rule, and as 1 to 5 rule, the story has to be 1 to 5. Now, what do technology does? Does it become a kind of hindrance factor or kind of support factor?
So hi, I'm Venu. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here. I've been hearing all of what's being said, and I think there are two aspects to this that I'd like to touch upon. One that I'm not so qualified to speak about. People here in the content business are far more qualified too. And the other that I am somewhat qualified to, the technology side, and that going global involves both. The unqualified side, let me get it over with. I heard that. I completely agree with what you're saying. You've got to be true to something. You can't, you can make for the world, you can make, a Crazy Rich Asians, which is very formulaic if you ask me, to appeal to a certain, stereotype that exists in the US, let's try and tap into that. And it does work to some extent. You will see a lot of international shows also following those formulas, throw in an Asian representation, a Hispanic representation, a black representation, whatever. So yes, but to be honest, if you ask me, for it to really connect, it needs to be, like you're saying, you need to be true to what the story that you're trying to tell. and not, try and build off a formula. That's one side. The other side is the technology. I can never see technology as being a hindrance for anything. Obviously, because I'm from the tech side of things. But to be honest, if you get slightly one step above the hindrance or enabling factor, technology is a reality. You have to learn to deal with it, right? It's not going to go away. If you're not using it, your competitor is, and they're going to benefit from it. So the way we present ourselves at Planetcast is it's almost like a school for your child. Content is your child that you created. Now you need to prepare your child to go out into the world, right? So everything that needs to be done, and by the way, we can't do anything without the raw material being there, the content being there. We mean absolutely nothing. But post that, there is a whole bunch of things that technology can bring to the table in terms of prepping your content, processing your content, packaging it, publishing it. That entire value chain, right, is something that's what our business is entirely. And that is something that we are now, a lot of content owners are beginning to learn to do that really well. That's really why you are finding, without that, doesn't travel. Of course, there's got to be the story at the heart of it, and it's got to be a universal theme that connects. And at the end of the day, humankind has a lot of universality, and it will connect if you're telling it authentically, truly. But taking it out into the world is a whole other job that we are now getting good at. And we are seeing our customers who are now able to leverage solutions with us. Everything from something as simple as, automated subtitling, dubbing, automated QCs, compliance for the various markets, all of that, to actually throwing in a lot more nuanced work like, cloning, voice cloning, and, actually getting the nuance of the personality localized to that extent. So that's something that we are getting better at, and that's the role that technology can play. The one thing that I do worry about, which Rabindra ji was saying, around AI, what I can think about, and as a tech guy, it's funny that there will be a lot of content that will be AI generated. There is no getting away from that fact, right? The only thought I have is, I don't know if all of you caught Coolie, the latest Rajani release, but AI can generate a coolie, but I don't know if it can do a Lapata Ladies, for instance, right? Formula is something, if you're going to bank on, then let me tell you, a machine can do that a hell of a lot better than human beings, all right? Breaking the formula finally has got to come from human intelligence, so let's not discount it too much, is all I can say.
Okay. So, yeah, please.
So, I'll put the thought back on content, right?
Okay.
So what OTT has done, and rightly so, it has sort of democratized the content space itself, right? You choose what you want to watch, and which such large volume you will need an algo to work for you, right?
Yeah.
So with or without AI, that specific aspect of watching will not change, right? I believe it is the wish list of every platform to increase reach, right? The whole, when we say there's certain resurgence has happened in regional cinema, but that was also the need of platforms to build reach beyond Hindi for South and then build global reach, right? So if a platform sees that there is a certain piece of content which has characters or perspectives which have not, or which have rarely been seen on screen, they would rightly push that content, right? And that is maybe their algorithm or their way of putting it first and take notice of that. So I believe that platforms will always do that, right? And that's why they commission certain projects and make. So I believe that particular aspect of how, whether you do it with AI, or that is not going to change, is what I feel, right?
Okay. Zafar, what do you think? While Indian global stories are trying to expand and you want to consolidate as an aggregator in India, what's your reading? What's the entire story to tell? How do you guys manage to actually, pick up those content, and how do you manage to explore opportunities which can become a futuristic large content in the international world? How do you do that?
So right now, we are obviously operating only in India, thanks to, because going global, there's some red tape involved, getting the rights, and there's just a lot of work, right? But still, there's some content, especially around fast FTA channels, and some content which we have, right, which plays outside, right? I mean, I agree. I mean, and as Venu also said, they are the content experts. So I was just wondering, right? Just looking the other way around, right? One is, the Indian stories traveling, going international, and the other way around. I think what comes to my mind are two genres, I would say, or formats. One is sports, right? And sports actually is global already. And it's not a recent phenomenon. I think it has been there for decades now, where a Caribbean league or a Big Bash is, I would say, and there are a lot of content which like we see some happening in some like Caribbean or Australia or somewhere, and 100 like happening in England, and we see a lot of viewership on our platform, for that content. So cricket, obviously, like, if people are interested in Indian content, Indian cricket, they are equally interested in cricket, no matter where it happens. Other thing that actually comes to my mind is, is something else, but I know maybe we can skip for later. Actually, so coming back to your question, right now I think we're just experimenting with how to go global. We've just I would say done few experiments, but there are plans, and I personally go through a lot of reviews, and a lot of people write to us, and we see a lot of people from the Middle East, from US, UK saying, like, okay, can I access OTTplay? I need this kind of OTT. Do I subscribe? And there are ways and means, they can subscribe, and a lot of people travel, right? So a lot of interest, but I don't think we have actually, explored that opportunity as much as we should.
I just wanted to add one point to what Zafar said regarding sports.
Yeah.
So for us in India, sports is cricket. But actually, if you wanted to travel, if you want to have sports beyond cricket, because everyone cannot have cricket on their platform, right? So there are so many sports in India, the local sports, which we have not even discovered. And imagine taking those sports, for example, the Jallikattu of Tamil Nadu, the Dahi Handi of Maharashtra, right? Then the kabaddis, the hockeys. Then there are so many other local sports in every nook and corner of India. And if you can tap on that, because there's a global audience there, it might be the Indian diaspora. It's a 35 million Indian population sitting outside. But that is the content beyond movies and beyond shows that you can tap on and take it globally. So, you have to think different, because you cannot be just doing the same old, like Sir said, you need to dream bigger, better. So these are the different genres or the niches you need to create for yourself.
Great.
Interesting
So,
aside, we did a international kabaddi league in the UK, by the way.
Wow.
So which was translated in the UK just in June of this year. And it was a week-long tournament. We were ourselves surprised, but there was a reach out and we did the play out for that. Yeah, to your point, interesting niches.
So, Rohan, I'm hearing sports. I'm hearing, the Indian market is traveling. I'm also hearing that India is now evolving as a content. What does a brand say when you go as agency, Havas Media, digital? What do the brand says? Do they say, okay, we will buy for these kind of pockets, or do we explore international pockets wherever the market is? So tomorrow you're talking about masala brands, or you're talking about any other Indian brands which are popular. Do they say, okay, ye OTT mein dalo, wo OTT mein dalo? How does it work? How does that interface work? I mean, can you, drive this? Because end of the day, what matters is money, and money is coming from the brand's purse string, and you're the one of the guys who drive this. How does it operate?
No, absolutely. I think one of the key things that we do, the clients expect reach from wherever and whatever they're investing in. And as the industry progressed, it's not only reach, it is outcome for them, more importantly. At the core of the entire planning is where stands content for us. And within this dedicated division that we have as Havas Play, we manage sports, which is where your question is, entertainment, and also content. But everything to a large extent continues to be content. I think we are the agency which aggressively sells IPL and it delivers. It's the same agency that will push Pro Punjab League. It is the same agency that will also push a Kabaddi League. I think it is all about having the right fitment for the brand to the audience. That becomes extremely critical. After that, which platform is it coming to? What is the reach? You cannot expect and compare an IPL reach to any of the sports and say this is the right formula and that you need to be investing in IPL only. There could be other sports, there could be other avenues, there could be other formats. And it doesn't really have to be necessarily live always. You co-create a content around any of the niches that were also mentioned right now and create something that is addressing to that specific cohort. To give you an example, when we were evaluating, years back, we managed Tata Motors commercial vehicle. They actually had a tie-up with Wrestling Federation of India. And that synced very well with their trucks division, which is one of the LOBs that they have. So Desh Ke Truck and Desh Ke Yodha was a narrative that worked for them. So I think evaluate on reach is what the brands would continue to be. But if there is an inherent, coherent fitment possible between sports and the brand, not all the brands would want to invest on an IPL, and not everyone will get the reach that an IPL delivers. But that is an expectation that brands will continue to have. But very happy to say that brands are very open today. I don't think it is purely about outcomes, but if there is a very good one-to-one fitment, brands are willing to invest, even if it is a lower value. They don't mind investing high, but then they see it long-term. They don't say that I would do it only for this season. If there is investment, it has to be sustainable and long-term.
Interesting. So that leads me to a question to the panel, to all of you. So is S-Word a dream or A-Word a reality? What is really happening is, this is basically what Nishit shared with me yesterday, is that if a Japanese brand would download a Z5 tomorrow, that's where, our Z5 team would be very happy. Because what's really happening is that while Indians are downloading the American apps, such as Amazon and Netflix, I would love to see a Sony Live or a Z5 app being downloaded, and a Shemaroo app, and everyone. So I don't want to hurt anybody's sentiments here. So what is it? Is it a reality? Is it a fiction? Something which I ask myself. I leave the panel to discuss this because this is a very interesting topic, the fight between A-Word and S-Word. Now, off late, you have seen Amazon Prime ads coming in. And slowly, steadily, I think Netflix also will follow the suit. Hotstar and JioStar, are already doing that. So by and large, how do this entire operation work in a market like India, which is complex, and market outside India is another super complex? How do these things work out? Anybody can start talking.
See, my take on this is A-Word, S-Word, freemium, all depends on what content you're giving. The content which is strong will have audience no matter how they access it. The trouble with, again, our mindset is we are used to freebies. Our successive governments have made the citizens think on what am I getting for free. This is why you see the top subscription-based OTTs and platforms of the world are turning to advertising support in India. Yeah. So in US, where we operate in a major way, Canada, Australia, there are no more legitimate connections left there. I can give an example of Dish in USA. 5-6 years ago, a Punjabi pack would have almost 60 to 70,000 paying subscribers. Today, there'll be handfuls because the market is infested with pirates. Why pirates have succeeded? They're offering the content for free.
Yeah.
Now, this is the same problem that existed in music industry earlier.
Yes.
When T-Series came up with a solution of 10 rupees or 25 rupees a cassette, when the HMV was selling at 200 or 300 rupees cassette. Similarly, the content creators now have to come up with a model where they look for support from elsewhere to make revenue, but audience should get it for free. Eyeballs will always matter, no matter who measures it and how it is measured. What matters is how many eyeballs have you got it. The best of the content will never see the light of the day if the audience is unable to get to see it. So you have to devise, the formulas are getting reworked, the methodology, the technology is changing, but everybody is now struggling to reach the maximum audience. IPL is a great success because you know there's a ready-made audience which will see it. Right. Now you give it to free and charge 30 lakhs, 40 lakhs per spot, people will pay because you'll give them eyeballs. Yes. So subscription models, SVODs or any kind of subscription model does not work with Indian audience globally. Canada and USA are the biggest market where content will not earn revenue based on subscription. People will not pay. They want it for free. So you have to look for advertisers, other models. In future also, I think, free to air is the formula which will succeed. Even in pay market in India today, except for the 4 big payers, nobody gets paid. And they also get the money by force. We are Z, we are Star, we are this, we are that. You have to pay. Only then the cable operator may be paying. Whether he gets paid the whole amount is a debatable issue. He gets 100 rupees from everyone, he has to give it to 4 big players only. Okay. Today I am a Punjabi channel, I say, pay me. I am showing the best of the content. Yeah. Nobody will pay you. They want it for free. So that is a thing to do with our mindset. We are used to it does not matter which strata, which A, B, C, D category you're coming from. Everybody wants it for free.
I'd like the content folks to react to because SWOD, the example of the US and Canada that you're giving was by far the most lucrative subscription market. Yeah. Right? May not be for Indian content or maybe non-American content, but it was by far, and that has crumbled, right? That has crumbled very badly. And then one of the biggest in the business, Netflix, which is claimed to never do 2 things, and one of them being we will never show ads. Once they started advertising not for the Indian market, we know यहाँ पे हमने तो Kellogg's also had to sell biscuits. And McDonald's had to do aloo tikki burger. So we know what happens here, right? But the fact that even in the West, advertising is rearing its head, to me, I think it's going to be the rise of AVOD. We've already seen it and we are used to it in Asia, especially in India, because we've been a low ARPU market, completely dependent on advertising. But the West is getting used to the idea that there is going to have to be a great increasing amounts of AVOD. And I don't know what the trigger is. There could be so many things that are, most of our work now is happening around building in newer, more innovative modes of advertising into content. Right? Be it, going beyond the standard pre-rolls, mid-rolls and whatnots, right? How can you incorporate shoppable videos, more contextual placement, all of that. And that's now all being done on, in your content processing platform. In my content supply chain today, the tagging is to enable contextual advertising, contextual placement of ads and all of that. So we know we are doing a lot of work there. So it very clearly is the rise of advertising as a force, even in the West, not just here. We know that already here. And it's only going to increase because you're talking about AI-driven content. This is more formulaic content. Okay, it's basically just giving you a formula that will satisfy your most basic content requirements, which means you are not going to be able to charge for it. Yeah. And these independent creators creating it and all, there's a huge creator community as well. So it all points to the rise of AVOD and the diminishing of SVOD, if you ask me.
Kaveri, what do you have to say?
I have a slightly different point of view. As somebody leading the business at Z5, I believe both are here to stay. And I'll tell you why. AVOD brings in the top funnel. You cannot not have a top funnel. And eventually that top funnel goes into your subscription funnel, right? So AVOD, is it here to stay? Yes. But SVOD brings in the engagement that you're looking for. And If you want stickiness on the platform, you need both. So one, to bring in the traffic, to bring in the top funnel, to make that larger pool of audience to convert to SVOD. But SVOD is here to stay because it gives you the ARPU. Today, our SVOD revenue is 3 times that of AVOD revenue.
Wow.
What does it say? Right? US, for example, has 35% of US is completely paid for us. There is no free content in the US for Z5. 35% of these subscribers come from US, and it's only growing. So I think, one, it is content. If you give them the right kind of content, people will pay for it. But while I say so, there are other ways to make people sample your content, because sometimes your content, for example, especially in shows, what happens is when you launch a show, the kind of investment any user has to do is much larger than in movies, right? Yeah. So there are means and ways to do it. You give them sampling time, you make certain free episodes, but eventually you bring them into the subscription funnel. So without a subscription model, I think a business like ours, at least I'm talking for myself, would not thrive. You need the right kind of pricing to nudge your users. Of course, content, it goes without saying. And I think what is most important, which of course here technology and product comes into the picture, for platforms which have so much of content depth, recommendation and personalization is something you cannot not have. Because that is where people see that there is so much to explore, right? If you do manual curations, you can only scale it to that level. So AI comes into the picture to first show you the right content, give you the right price, and then funnel you through to the entire subscription journey. So that is how I would like to put it.
Nishit,
but I'm sure
3x to 1x. Do you agree with Kaveri? That's a big number.
See, first of all, I sort of agree what Kaveri is saying. But let me give you a different perspective, okay? As somebody who has immense amount of content, which is both new and library, and we sort of license it to different kinds of platforms, right? SVOD, AVOD, FAST, TVOD. We feel the content and the platform follow where consumption is happening, okay? There are strange examples. There are instances where our movies have been on YouTube, the absolute mecca of AVOD, and no consumption was happening. That content, when we put on an SVOD platform, it has given us decent run. 2 years, 3 years, sustainable run. There's certain content which was not getting traction on SVOD. Like I can give some Shyam Benegal movie examples. When we put it on TVOD, we have seen exceptional consumption there. So, see, it is also about habit, okay? There is, whether we like it or not, there's a funneling that has happened in terms of how people want to access content, okay? So, I believe audience is more smarter than what maybe we industry folks think, okay? AVOD not necessarily means that they don't like to pay. It's something, it's also about how the consumption pattern or the behavior has evolved, okay? And we have learned it from countries like US, okay? Mm-hmm. While it has fallen down, the FAST ecosystem has been a true benchmark in US, okay? UK, Europe followed. We are now seeing the same resurgence in Middle East. Middle East is a very different example. Like, while the resurgence of FAST is happening, the pay is not going down, but AVOD, so we are seeing a bit of expansion there happening, right? So we must not forget. I mean, maybe if you ask a content maker, he would say that my ambition is the content should reach to the largest reach as possible, maybe even beyond my diaspora, right? And that is how we should work as aggregators, as platforms, that we should follow where the trail is, right? For the right set of audience. Sometimes it's all about curation. Sometimes it's all about looking at a certain audience set and their specific particular behavior and then rightly positioning the content, right? So, as I rightly said, OTT has democratized the content, but it has also created a problem of discoverability. And I feel all these different audience sets, yes, will remain, but it solves the problem of discoverability and makes us put little more effort in curation. right?
And just to add to your point, I also feel that no matter what you do, your content speaks for itself. I'll give you an example. Today on Z5, our TV shows, they are paid for the first 7 days, and then there's a paywall, so to say. So one of our TV shows in Hindi, which we just launched a month back, so it garners the highest number of subscriptions on the platform. So people, they do not want to postpone their viewing. Why? Because the content is good. Of course, it is living up to the TV expectations, but it's also going beyond the usual TV stories. The characters work for them, big, good faces. So what is happening here? The content is so compelling that, hey, even after it becomes free after 7 days, sorry, I cannot wait. I need to pay today and watch today's episode. So it is all about the content. It is about the story, how compelling you are able to make it, and what is so different about it, that here there is an audience who is watching it after 7 days, but then again a different set of audience who could have waited but have decided to pay.
So great point here, Rohan. How do you fit in this figment when you have brands talking about AVOD and talking about SVOD, where they will more focus on AVOD because they will understand how brands really resonate? Do they really look at OTT as a major player and say OTT में खर्चा करते हैं and YouTube में नहीं, या Facebook में या Meta में? Does it really, you have to, balance these two worlds for yourself? How do Havas plays this role, and how does the entire, story leads into?
See, first of all, I think I just fit as a consumer after hearing all these points.
Yes.
But I really didn't look at whether it was AVOD, SVOD, whether it's available on FAST or YouTube. I first decided that, this is that hoarding that told me that this is the show that I'm interested in. After that, then I go and check, ये किसी ने family में subscribe किया है या मुझे अभी करना पड़ेगा. And then perhaps we go through the journey of, whether subscribing or accepting the ads and going ahead watching the content. But I think evolved consumer, they first go and check also on YouTube, अरे यहाँ पर available है, पूरी movie मिल रही है, अब यहाँ पर जाके क्यों subscribe करूँ मैं? But if they have a subscription, then they would rather, focus on the subscription. And I totally agree the point that, I don't want to wait. I'd rather subscribe and watch it today, because if I don't watch it today, my social feed is going to tell me the entire story in the next 5 days. So either I stop watching social media in the next 7 days, or rather subscribe and watch the content, which works for us. But I think as advertisers and being custodians of brands, it's extremely important to reach out to relevant audience. And if there is advertisement available on the on the platform, and if there is segmentation available that does justice to the brands that we are working for, it works absolutely fine. So we don't look at balancing. For us, I think it's just about finding audience. Now you do it directly, you do it programmatically, you get a technology layer on top of that. Yeah. Because end of the day, in that review that the brand is going to ask us that, yeah, the investments work very well, but it didn't move the needle on sales, which is, right for them. Difficult to explain because the purchase journey necessarily might not be as linear and as immediate. So we don't do balancing. We are very happy with all the platforms giving us ad spots. We will take them at the lowest cost possible and, get the reach for our clients.
So Zafar, how does it work in your one-sided world of SWOT? How does it look like in the current context? Kaveri, you want to speak?
No, I was just saying that after this meeting, I'm going to just talk to him and get the cheapest rate.
Zafar.
Yeah, so for the last 15 years, a majority I've spent time in the online publishing world, right? And for I think for the longest time, 20 years, the publishers of the country have tried to be like, sell space, right? And, only for the Googles and the Facebooks of the world and the InShots, like, to basically eat their pie, right? And, let's say if there are $100 marketing dollars, hardly 5 or 10 go to all the publishers combined, and 90 goes to, let's say, the Googles and the InShots and, the Daily Hunts of the world, right? So I'm just drawing a parallel, right? And what Mr. Narayan also said, right? That there's a government policy of freebies, and it's a matter of habit, but there's also a habit where I believe, the people, especially the larger middle class is used to paying 300 rupees for their cable. And this is something that they have been doing for like the longest time, for decades, right? Ever since the advent of TV, in India, right? And we are actually trying to just, like build on that and say कि, ये जो आप केबल पे दे रहे थे पैसा, अभी आपको, आपका entertainment ही हो रहा है, but the mediums have changed, and we are offering a lot more.
Yes.
And again, and I think what Kaveri said, like if you get the right content, people do pay, and I think for SWOD, two things are very critical. One is sports, live sports. The other is marquee series, right?
Yes.
It just, it makes your job a lot more easier than, let's say, the library content or, So, yeah, I mean, I think eventually SWOD, needs to happen because, I don't know, like there'll always be someone doing your AWOD better than, I don't know, maybe the individual OTTs.
Okay, great. So what kind of stays? Question, okay, the bell has rang. We have to go home. Question to all of you guys, each one of you, an interesting one, which says that we all know content is king, but data is God, okay? And data is something which we all now worship and believe to a larger extent. Now, each one of you, can you give me an example how something which you guys found very unique while you were looking at your data, be it in India or be it outside India would be better. So, sir, from your ETC perspective, Nishit from your Shemaroo perspective, Zafar from your OTT perspective, Venu from the overall construct. I think, Rohan, you're swimming with data, so I don't have to ask you anything. And also Kaveri, obviously, from Z5 perspective. What is this something which can surprise the audience and say, wow, ye kahan se aa gaya? Ye country kahan se dekh raha hai? It could be one country called Uganda or Zimbabwe. I don't know. I'm just giving an example where we say, oh, Indian content is really becoming a talking point or big shot suddenly. And this becomes the holy grail. Like we have Indonesia with Mahabharata and Ramayana. Something which is thrown up and you guys really made, it could not be your secrets, but something which is thrown open and it's become a kind of a talking point now, and which has now, cascaded to something which is different. So anyone can start and throw open.
So, I mean, see, for us, okay, what we are trying to do is to find surrogates of Indian content for every platform which is out there, right? And for the non-Indian diaspora. So we find very, very weird, but also it opens our mind and helps us think beyond, okay? So for example, for the longest time, we have had a good run with family dramas, social dramas in the region of Middle East, both in series as well as in movies, right? Something music, family oriented, and has a lot of family drama. Now, when we spread out and we speak to specific platforms there, we found platforms who are also trying to differentiate. In Egypt, we found a platform who gave us a brief, no, we want to focus on horror.
Oh,
okay. Very strange and mystical horror, okay. In Lebanon, we found somebody who says, no, pacey action is something that we are building. So platforms are also trying to differentiate, and that creates a possibility for us, and also those data points, like how their audiences are reacting, they're finding their own niches, and we get these. In Japan, we used to do a lot of slow, mystery-oriented content, okay? Suddenly, we met somebody new and he said, no, mythology will work here, okay? And that too with a lot of folklore-based and create those. So, for us, these data points, which are in form of creative briefs, but then taking feedback from them, how that content worked, okay, what has been their performance, and specifically in Europe, we always used to have a hard time, but we presented something as, to certain Nordic platforms as very close estimate of Gothic horror, okay, and something like Tumbar, okay, that's a good example because we are also working on such projects. So they had an appetite for that, and we completely localized it. The one thing we are doing is, there are platforms like in China which tell us, no, we will only take original language. There are platforms in Europe we will only, the story looks interesting, but you need to localize for it. us, and then only we'll include it as a slate. And they're ready to experiment, and they share feedback, some insights into how the overall genre has worked for them and our piece of content has worked for them. So for us, these nuances become data points to then create and find more sort of surrogates in the Indian cinema, right?
So I'll give you one last data
Fantastic.
which shocked me this year and which tells me what the future will be. So we do a lot of music videos with a lot of singers. They get a few lakhs or up to 1 million or such views. Suddenly we created a AI-based, totally AI-based song. And in 1 week, it got me 8 million views.
Wow.
I was shocked. And then we created more. Overall, we've created 8 AI videos, each crossing 3 million. So I was wondering what is it that is getting me more views on this content. Then we discovered that those were on grand scale, things which you would never be able to afford for a singer in a music video unless you're spending 5 crores on a music video. You can't shoot it on the Alps or have visuals which are involving a lot of VFX and all. But with AI, you could do that. If it looks good, if it feels good, people will see it more and more. So the future now I'm telling you based on data is generative AI will now define the way content, including movies, ad films, music videos, are going to be made.
Wow.
And that's the new revolution that is on the way.
Wow. So Kaveri, he's talking country-wise. Geography, he's talking
yes,
AI. What's your
One
take?
country which we see which acts very differently is Africa, because third, fourth generation of Indians are over there. So their Purvaj came many, many years ago. They don't know Hindi. They can't speak Hindi. They're settled there. But they are lapping up content, especially in the mytho and the folklore zone, because the learning is simple. They want to learn about, India, about where their roots are. So that is one country. It's not like it has surprised us. Of course, initially it did surprise us, but now we have strategies around that, okay, we will get you Indian content and we will dub it. So that is one country which really, initially surprised us, and then we eventually built a model for them, and we see that revenues from that country is growing because of this whole change which we made.
Rohan?
No, I mean, again, purely a consumer perspective, but with data coming from a lot of platforms, we started seeing a lot of Korean content adoption on an all-time high, but we started then looking at where we need to be investing, and that's just one example. And I think during COVID, the mytho again picked up, which was again, I would not say too surprised, but I think it's every season, different genre, something really picks up, and then people tend to follow. We go where people are going behind.
Venu?
Not much. Just to sum it up by saying content is king, data is God, but just remember metadata is the priest who can take you to heaven. You're not going to get to the heaven of ROI without priests along the way. Tech can be that. I'd say metadata helps.
Yeah.
That's all.
And Zafar?
Yeah. So one interesting thing that I observed, so a lot of interest in this medical drama series, right? And not the Indian ones, but the likes of, I would say, Chicago Med or Grey's Anatomy or Doc. And, these keep coming, right? And, a lot of times I've heard, people even in my family say, wo episode mein dekha tha, to aapko ye condition hai, and, so it's more like an edutainment, but, even when it comes to data, we see a lot of traction there. And with the increased focus on health, people are trying to binge watch those series. कि अच्छा हमको थोड़ा ज़्यादा पता चलेगा about health, right? So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Only one last question, just one word from all of you guys. I'm just taking a minute. Just one word I want from all of you guys. What will be the future of Indian content in the international market? Just one word I need. Only one word. I mean, nothing need to break your
I tell
head,
you,
but just
the words Indian, regional will disappear. Only one word will remain: global.
Okay.
World will be the audience.
Okay, sir says global. Nishit?
I would say universality in hyperlocality. I think that is something as a...
Universality towards hyper locality. It's a very broad word, but a great word. Zafar?
Consolidation.
Sorry?
Consolidation, like
Consolidation. Okay, great.
I
Venu?
I think we're learning to be comfortable in our own skins, so that only augurs well for content creation. I agree with him. It's not going to have a nationality or this thing. It's global. So just think about the tech that's going to take you there. That's all.
Rohan?
Content from many Indias reaching to the global space, I think will literally scale up.
And to end with Kaveri.
Since I'm the last here and it has to end with a punch, so I thought glocal, not bridging boundaries, but blurring boundaries.
Wow, that's a great line to end. Thank you so much, guys.